That's very interesting. All right, so we are currently live. I'm gonna send you the link to the stream too, so you can check out the chat. That's gonna be. You should see a chat bubble pop up right now.
Can you hear my mic okay?
Yep, I can hear you perfectly.
Okay.
Sweet. Let's see. You got the chat link?
I do.
Nice.
See here.
That'll that's the link to the actual video.
In YouTube.
Mm-hmm. No, that's not gonna work. All right. Oh, you see it?
I do see the link. Yes. Oh, I haven't clicked into the live meeting yet.
Oh, no problem. Okay, that's just like if you want to look at the live chat and everything.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Some people it distracts them. Some people like to look on, so it's all.
I'm also a mutable sign, but I don't think I'm quite as good at keeping up with chat as you are.
That's no problem.
So I have Uranus in the 3rd house, so I have to keep myself very focused. Otherwise, I'm like ADHD.
Yeah. Especially knowing your son's in Sagittarius too. I can't wait to speak about it. Like, really want to get into what it's like to even be you or have your spirit. So,
I came prepared.
First and foremost, thank you so much for coming prepared. Thank you so much for joining. Really glad to have you. When I do these on Zoom, it does take a while for because people don't get notified this way. So as people join, thank you guys for joining. We are going to start shortly. But before we really get into it, how are you feeling?
Me?
Yeah.
I'm psyched. I'm not sure. I don't know. You've given me a platform to come and talk about like all the things I love to talk about. So right now we're like best friends.
Yes. I'm so grateful for you too, because you definitely, it's not really, it's not always easy to find people who like to talk about stuff like this. Mm-hmm. So on that level, I'm grateful. And then you might find someone who likes to talk about it, but it's even harder to find someone who's like actually well versed in it and knows what they're talking about. So
yeah, I feel I guess it's taken me, it's a life journey, obviously, as you continue to expand through your own spiritual practice. And if you're following those kinds of things and practicing them in your daily life, then it's something that you become more, like you said, more versed in as you go. But I think a lot of people are just really afraid to dive into certain areas of spiritual or magical practice. They just don't know what to expect, which as a Sagittarius, for me, I end up just kind of dipping my toes in to hot water sometimes, and I don't know where the road's going to take me. But I think that's part of being a Sagittarius, is your truth is in your experience, and your beliefs are shaped by your experience. So it's like whatever I'm experiencing in the now is my current belief system, and that can change tomorrow, that can change at any minute. It could change 10 years from now. It depends on where the path takes me, and I might find out that I don't like the end results. And in that case, you have to switch to a different path. But that's part of the fun of it. And I think as a Sagittarius, that's allowed me to feel kind of free. Although I do have, I use my own intuition a lot in figuring out what works for me in my own practice and what doesn't. And that's that's always your top source of guidance. I mean,
Yeah.
you are your best psychic. You are your own best psychic because of that inner guidance, that inner compass that we all have. But yeah, and amongst my own clients, and like from my own website, kind of watching the traffic there, it's, I feel like spiritual and psychic safety are a huge concern for a lot of people. So that's something that I address with a lot of clients and have been able to help a lot of people with. And one reason why I have like a written section in the book that I sent you on kind of spiritual safety and psychic safety and stuff like that. As you explore your own spiritual path, because that's such a big question for people, and I want people to be able to practice safely. So that's that.
Which, I mean, talking to you introduced me to so many concepts that at once that I wasn't even expecting. So yeah, I mean, like, I'm so grateful to really look into this or talk about this with you. For those in the live chat, shout out Pisces Priestess, you know what time it is. She said Gemini and Sagittarius, I'm here for it. So I had an amazing reading from Jacquelyn, guys. I don't even want to call it a reading as much as if it was like an amazing session that and that's what I really appreciate about I'm putting links right now into the description for anyone who wants to check out our website. But yeah, like, that's one thing I really appreciate with dealing with Sagittarius, especially because, like, I don't really have those energies, but even if I did, it's just so much amazing insight to be had, and like extra facets that I wouldn't even be able to look into, because I don't even have that type of perception that I was able to really come into enlightenment about. And it really just left the session super empowered as well.
That's good. That's great. Yeah, I feel like we came away with a lot of really guidance and information for you. I was glad all the stuff came up that you were needing to hear about at the time. I mean, it always does, but I don't always get feedback from my clients and people, I do sessions with. Sometimes you get kind of the stony faces and there's almost no like verbal or visual feedback at all. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to keep telling the story here and I hope it, turns out okay.
And that was another thing that really that I was so grateful of. Like, some of what you told me wasn't the first time I was hearing it, but I was able to understand it for the first time, like never before.
Oh, I see.
Right. Yeah. Like, you helped me really. It's like I looked at it, I understood it for the first time again, seeing how you, like, especially, for example, you brought up like the order of Melchizedek priests and whatnot. So definitely for anyone who's watching this too, like, I'm gonna say this again at the end, but right off the bat, you totally want to hit up Jacquelyn. She's totally got you. And a thing that I really loved about this session was it wasn't really like you were wanting to, make the most of your time or whatnot. Like, you were really genuinely like wanting to help me spiritually and to really, it's almost as if your heart is burning with the passion. There's so much you have to do. So it's like
I have to be really careful. I mean, when I don't have a lot of clients lined up for the week, like, I let myself go, and I have a tendency of like just putting so much time into something because I want to give the most to the client. And so I have a problem keeping my own time limits. Like, if I say, oh, it's gonna be a hour session, like, no, I know myself way better than that.
Yeah. And so, I mean, you never know how some sessions could go too. Like, some things could happen and bam, like, before you know, the time just flown. But especially for those who just joined, and for those who are going to watch after this is live too, what is it that you officially do, and what do you do? For those who also are unaware, she sent me this amazing book of shadows, which we're going to get into, as it's a really great guide for practicing magic. So, you know.
And I put the link for that. I mean, it's on my website on the homepage as well if you scroll down, but I put that in the chat to you, Mike, so you
Beautiful.
can if someone wants to go directly there.
Nice.
And that is in short, just, well, you said we'll talk about that later, right? So
we'll go right into it after. But like, what do you Telastic Journey? What is that about?
Yeah, well, I do alternative energy healing therapy. Essentially, I read Akashic Records, and I help clients align your soul back to its original divine blueprint of origination, so that if there are ongoing soul situations that are manifesting as negative circumstances within your reality, such as health concerns, relationship problems, job issues, just general lack of fulfillment, maybe, if you're a person who gets trapped in really deep, depression or negative emotional patterns, negative mental patterns, anything that it just becomes a burden and you're like, why does this always happen to me, kind of thing, or I can't seem to get out of this negative cycle. There are reasons that we energetically become trapped or connected with those energies. There's actually about 50 soul level mechanisms that can contribute to negative patterns, negative cycles that we get into. And of course, since we're whole beings, on all those dimensional levels, it's what's happening to us energetically is coming through and as a mirror into that physical reality. So whether it be through, our circumstances, through our relationships, through our money, our feelings, our thoughts, everything. So I go in and I look, okay, at the soul level, what is the soul's experience? What kind of trauma is maybe attached here still that we need to let go of? And it might be from a past lifetime. It might be from the present lifetime. It might be from entity attachments, hooks, cords. There's so many things, but essentially that's what I do. I just help the soul kind of tidy up its experience and kind of release things, let go of things, because there's just a lot going on. So
and that's easy to lose sight of, the fact that there's a lot going on and there's so much happening, like, and there's so much to take account for. One thing that I made a post of recently was that anyone who says, well, before I say this, what is your big three? Your sun is in Sag, but what's your moon and rising?
My moon is in Taurus and my rising is Libra.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. I forgot your moon is in Taurus. That is amazing. I've noticed that specific combo of Sagittarius is super graceful too, as far as like how well you're able to ground all that fire. It's like you could show
that. I have that. I have 4 planets in Sagittarius. Yeah. I need the grounding.
And it's exalted, so I mean, it really works. And so I made a post on Facebook about how, like, anyone who is talking about they could read the Akashic Records is probably lying. They probably can't. But I already know you're super legit. Like, you definitely do. And when I said that, I meant more so, I didn't mean it too literally in that no one can do it, but like, what do you feel about other people who say, because I feel like it just cheapens what you do. Like, so many people say, oh yeah, I tune into the Akashic Records, and it's not even really something that could be tuned into like that. I think that was made mainstream. Like, you have the spirit of Sagittarius, which obviously that lets me know, okay, she really does tune into the Akashic Records. So what's a good way to, like, for someone who's new to this too, how can you tell who's legit and who's just saying they do?
Well, I don't, I can't, obviously, I don't know every person, every situation, so I can only speak from my own experience. I believe that there's a lot of healers out there, a lot of readers out there who are fraudulent in what they do. But I also believe there are a lot of real ones out there. I think everybody just kind of as uh, prerequisite to what I'm about to say, I guess, everybody just use, if you ever are looking for a spiritual healer of any kind, or somebody who you think is accessing Akashic Records, research about that person. I've had a lot of clients come to me with like botched healing sessions where they've come away with hooks and portals attached to them and all kinds of things. They're feeling negative. They've come away with all kinds of entity attachments and mechanisms that aren't good for the soul, and it might not even be purposeful, but a lot of self-taught healers. And so I'm now, and I used to think that as a healer, as maybe an Akashic record reader, whatever you wanted to do, if you wanted to heal somebody, okay, just go out and heal somebody. But I've come to really look at the soul as like, it's like your physical body. Would you go to your next door neighbor who took a CPR class to get surgery? If you needed open heart surgery, you would want to go to that person who is going to save your life, right? Who's going to do the right job, knows all the techniques, all the skills, they've got the technical ability. And I've come to realize, and well, this is also part of our whole being. And you're asking somebody to reach into the deepest aspect of you that contains everything of your being. And that's not something, like, I don't want to but yeah, I do take it seriously, and people should also take it a little more seriously, I think, than they do, because you can jack something up. You can get really jacked up healing sessions from somebody that doesn't know what they're doing. And,
even if they mean well too.
Exactly. Even if you mean well, and it's just because that person might not have an understanding of exactly what they're dealing with. And, even having, I learned from a teacher who's got probably close to 8,000 students. And she's been teaching for like 10 years, Akashic record reading, and developed her own programs and stuff like that. And I've got her on my affiliate site if anybody wants to watch and you want to learn reading Akashic records and you want to have a professional teacher in that arena to teach you. And she's got many levels of the program where you can actually learn various mechanisms and stuff like that. But I don't know. I mean, I don't watch, say on YouTube, if somebody's like, Akashic record reading, something, this is what I'm getting. I don't watch a lot of YouTube videos like that. I'm in the Akashic records myself, like far too much. So, so I don't know. I would, I think though that it's very important for someone to have a professional training behind it, or to have had some kind of mentorship. It's like the priesthood, you think of it like going through atonements and initiations and stuff like that. And I went through levels of initiation. So, and I think there was a very good reason for that, because it developed a respect for what I was about to be doing. Like, I'm dealing with somebody's soul.
Yeah,
this is going to affect every aspect in their life in ways that I don't even know.
Yeah. That's very true.
So that's important to take care of that.
Yeah.
So
well said. Yeah. And it's you really it's true. Like, everyone's different. So everyone's connection will be different. I just saw the Akashic records as something that not just anyone can tune into, because that was the rhetoric around it. It's like, oh yeah, you could just tune into it. It's like, no, you would have to be someone ordained or already connected to it.
I believe that people will have access from their higher self to their own Akashic record, because your higher self typically will exist at the 5th dimensional level, where your Akashic record is. Your higher self is filtering all of your experience up from your incarnations into the Akashic records, and then filtering it back down so that you can learn faster from multiple incarnation experiences simultaneously. And yeah, which is a pretty cool thing. But then, well, that can be a whole other topic.
Right.
Yeah, oh my gosh. So, but yeah, I think you can have access to your own Akashic record. I don't think people need access a lot of times. I think we also manage our own experience very well a lot of times. I think there are times, well, oh my gosh, I can't talk. There are times where if we need that additional guidance to overcome something, then yes, it might be important for us to do that. But we do not have access to someone else's records without initiation and permission from that person.
Right. Permission is huge too.
Yes.
And that's another thing. For those of you who took part in the non-consent ritual, the 21-day transmutation energy ritual we did at the end, Jacquelyn actually created. Thank you so much again. I went 3 days strong. The third day, I actually put on like a king hat and a robe, and I was saying it in kingly fashion. And it was just felt so empowering. And I could tell the dark forces hated it too, because it's like activating confidence and like, you know, awareness of these themes in ways that, once again, like may not even have thought. So that's, so Telastic Journey, like what got you on your path? I know you mentioned this before, but like what really inspired you to do it?
Well, you, sir.
Oh, snap.
Well, I had my
I'm honored.
Well, I told you I had my first astrology reading ever from you like a few years ago, like I don't know, 3 or 4 years, I don't know, years ago. And you called me the shamanic fire goddess, is what I was. Like you're the
nice.
You're the lightning sage, right? And I was the shamanic fire goddess. So I was like, yes, I'm a shamanic fire goddess. I have a calling now.
Daughter of Zeus, like Wonder Woman.
That's right. I use my scepter now. My Wonder Woman cloak of greatness. My adventuring cloak. But in the reading, you told me that because I have some trines between the moon and Mercury and like all these things going on. And so you were like, oh, and then because of where all my fire planets were located and stuff, you were like, you have to do energy healing. You were like, I don't know if you're doing it yet, but you have to do it. And so I was like, okay, I'll check it out. So thanks.
Wait, that's what's up. Little did I know. That's amazing. Well, thank you.
You're changing lives out here. You didn't even know it.
Just doing the Lord's work, just keeping it moving.
Absolutely.
And yeah, I'm so glad that could be paid for, and I get an energy healing from you, because it definitely was worth it. Was well worth it. And still, like,
how did you feel right after and now versus right after or before?
Great. Well, see, oh my gosh. Okay, I didn't even tell you this. So I should have told you this too, but like right when you were giving me that session, somebody else had a group chat, because shout out to David. He's been pretty much hitting people up and testing us as guinea pigs, like sending healing energy to us, just to he's asking us if we want us to do it. So right when you were doing that, he opened a group chat and was also offering a concurrent healing. So to me, it was like, wow, like something has to be happening. It's like an activation space, because everything's coming together.
You're
like
getting the peace bullets.
Right. Which I was just so grateful for. And I feel like a lot of that was facilitated with you too. I feel like the timing of all that and like how that really works. So it's hard to really speak on because my awareness is like this limited and there's all this happening, right? So it's
Yeah,
like,
it's hard to see exactly what's going on.
right. But
Yeah.
I can say since then I've definitely been clear. It's just so much that's been happening before and during that slowly but surely I'm coming into more. I can say since then I feel more like myself. I feel more confident. I feel like I'm away. It's definitely facilitated this awakening amazingly.
Yes, I think that was one of our topics in the session, was like facilitating your full awakening.
Yes.
And I'm giving you no excuses. So you're going to have to go back and listen because.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I'm going to, the new moon in Taurus, I'm going to do that 21 day for sure. For sure.
Absolutely.
Really cement that in. So, and yeah, well, so what, how long did it take you to make this Book of Shadows? How is that?
Like 2 or 3 months. I needed one. I needed one like the one I made. I mean, it's basically, so I've been practicing with several types of magic for quite a long time. And so as I was in my own grimoires and my books of shadows, and I'm writing all my notes and doing, I needed, a nice organized space because technically my Mars kind of falls in my 12th house. And so, and in like Virgo in, not Hori, the Babylonian astrology, like the sidereal astrology.
Okay.
And so
Okay.
I think I have some kind of like really neat freak kind of like I have OCD kind of tendencies in the things that I do. I don't know.
And you're Libra rising, so you're Virgo's 12th house. So it's that for sure.
Yeah. So I made myself a very nice, neat book that I could print out, and I wanted something nice that would last me and that I could put all my favorite rituals in. And I mean, for me, I practice mostly magic techniques that evoke entities. I do evocations and invocations, and that's mostly what I work with. So I don't do a lot of moon rituals or candle rituals and stuff like that, but I did include something with lots of different forms of magic, like chaos magic, creating familiar spirits, if you have a servitor spirit, to put imagery and stuff about familiar spirits, things like of that nature, so that anybody can get good use out of it. I mean, there's a lot of different stuff in it. If someone was part of a coven or something and wanted to write things about their group, but it's something I needed, and I think it also went along with my theme of exploring spiritual and psychic safety with clients, because I have that being such a huge concern that's brought to my attention all the time. And so I noticed as I would get into my learning what worked for me, what produced results for me, and intention setting and magic ritual and stuff like that in my own spiritual practice, I wanted to, there wasn't a lot of places to go to find the right answers on what was safe and what wasn't. And so I wanted to put all of my best tips and knowledge about spiritual safety, especially from the perspective of somebody who does entity removals. And I've experienced many different types of entities, worked with them, communicated with them, understanding their behavioral characteristics, their individual personalities, from doing the removal and even doing the summoning and speaking with these entities on my own terms, So because I have kind of both modes of experience, I can tell you what's safe with entities and what's not, and how they attach, how they don't. So I included some of that at the start of the book, just so that people can get an idea of, if you're building your own spiritual practice and you want to explore magic, you want to explore, that type of creative practice, then what is necessary to be safe, essentially. So
there's definitely a lot of new vocab that I learned too, like about servitor spirits. Never heard of that before,
okay.
or even animal familiar. So that's another reason why I love this book. Like I feel like for for someone that's so into magic, I feel like this is going to be a really practical guide to really ground it. Because until now, it's all been in my head. Gemini, like I have the ideas of what it could be, but this really like grounds it beautifully.
Yeah, I think I tried to include promptings. Like personally, I have not done a lot of some of these types of magic. I've experimented with them, but for me, there's just obviously certain forms of practice that I feel like are kind of my personal mode that my spirit channels through the best. And so I get the best results that way. But I tried to include prompting. So if someone wanted to, it's like, it's kind of in journal format, so, but I include questions about those things to get people thinking, like, okay, while I'm working this magic, I need to consider these things, ask myself these things about this practice, and then you can write them down for yourself. I honestly, because the length of the book already, I didn't include much room for writing down your own results. But I like when people keep a magic journal where they write the results that they're seeing from their practice, because I think it's very important that, and also your experience. What are you experiencing while you are doing the ritual? That's very important.
That's true, yeah.
Because you have to know what's you and what's not you. And if you're feeling something outside yourself, then, or if you're feeling something inside you, like come into you, that doesn't, like maybe a feeling or a thought or something that doesn't normally resonate true to you, then something's interfering, right? So it's very good to keep written, your experience before, during, and after whatever ritual that you have, so that you can track that and know yourself, so you don't get into trouble,
And all of that always pays off later when you read, because that's one thing I underestimated, like how you may not get the experience now, but you could read it days later, weeks later, and it makes all the sense in the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes I forget, if I don't write it down, I'll forget what rituals I've done or what exactly I asked for, because part of it is you let it go. You let the intention go to become manifest, because you've just handed that over to universal creation, to all your helpers, to, your guides and your team, and, and you just said, okay, universe, I put it out there, I entrust that it will be done, and you know the best way how. So
Nice.
so sometimes I forget if I don't.
That's amazing. That's really amazing. Once again, guys, like definitely check out this book. I know this is along with everything that you have done with me so far, I know it's going to be super valuable on my journey. So very,
Well,
very grateful.
something I was thinking about earlier too, this week, and I think because you have Capricorn rising, right? Or was it Cap Moon?
Taurus rising, Cat Moon, yes.
Okay. Oh, wow. Really? Taurus
Yeah.
rising? I like that.
Cool.
I vibe with the Taurus energy so hard.
As I get older, I love Earth more. I'll say that.
Yeah. Well, I told you in your session that you were going to have to like grow up into that higher aspect of
Yes.
yourself. And I
Yeah.
was like, don't
Yeah.
be afraid of it. Like,
Yeah.
it's calling you. It's calling you.
Yeah. Every day.
But you avoiding so hardcore.
I've learned how stubborn I am through this process, how much I get in my own way, which is both enlightening and humbling. So it's very grateful.
Well, what I was going to say is, and I think your earth aspects will appreciate this, is I've been focusing really, like, I really enjoy the one-on-one client sessions because I love to help people overcome those hurdles, and especially like overcoming dark emotional states of being. My dad's a psychologist, he's a doctor. I've, been my whole life, like, hearing that talk about how do you, overcome depression, how do you overcome this, like how do you handle different forms of stress and this, that, and the other. And so, I feel like that's and with the Libra rising, finding that balance and harmony, how do you help people get into that balanced state, right? But I've also kind of learned that and especially now, Uranus in third house, I'm very distractible.
Oh, on your sun too.
Yeah. with Neptune and Jupiter.
Oh my God, yes. Oh my God. Okay, so that specific aspect too, I know Uranus on sun, you can channel higher frequency beings. Neptune on sun, you can ascend. But then you have you're like super duper super creator set. That's amazing, y'all. Oh my gosh.
So sorry, I interrupt myself. Anyway, during all of this pandemic stuff going on, as people have to rethink, how they're making money, how they're, stepping into, new hobbies, what they're doing in their free time, staying in their own thoughts, even just facing their own fears at this time, their own stresses, it gives people a lot of opportunity to step into being entrepreneurs and taking on the entrepreneurial spirit. But essentially, what I've been studying is that with my teacher at this point is that entrepreneurship is really the greatest path towards growth, because you have the most freedom of choice over your own effort, over your own time, over your own energy, and how your spirit, how your soul is pouring its divine creative life force energy into its creations. So if all of the things in your business are aligned to your divine self-expression, that's where you see the most abundance, specifically through entrepreneurship. And I was actually going to ask you if you wanted me to take a look at your businesses, because right now I'm taking on some practice clients and stuff, because it's not something that I'm like openly offering yet. So, but essentially, like, to be able to take a look, like if you're a business owner, not just aligning, relationships and stuff, but how do you align your money making, like your own creative worth, with how your soul is expressing its divine gifts through entrepreneurship, obviously. Because energetically, at the 3D level, when we're looking at energy exchange, it's effort, like the energy it takes to create something with our divine gifts, and then currency, like money, whatever we're using to exchange someone else's time and energy for what we're offering. So at the 3D level, money and effort are what we see as the exchange. And if they're not flowing right, then at the soul level, something's not expressing right.
Yeah.
So
I'm totally down, by the way. That's amazing.
That would be exciting.
Yeah. I feel like it's something I'm ready to do too, because it's just like come together. So yeah, shout out to Sharon also shouting her culture bitch is so business. So let's play and Mer Magic said she loves your purple earrings, by the way.
Oh, thank you. They're black, but I think
they're black?
They're black. Oh my
no
God.
way. It looks purple. That's wild. That's so interesting.
Purple is my favorite color. So
word.
I'll take it.
That's really amazing. So let's play the 3 questions game. We'll take turns asking each other questions. It could be about anything. And the first rule is you go first.
Okay. Okay. I thought about this right before. If you say, if somebody asks you, what do you want to be when you grow up? And you think about that at this point in your life, like from here, what do you want to be when you grow up? Now think, if you could give yourself a title to that, what I would be. What's your title? Because like at first you're the lightning sage, but what you're becoming, what's your title
I'm
for
looking.
your new job?
Oh, okay, for the job title.
I don't know, or for you, but it kind of goes
Yeah,
hand in hand.
that's so interesting. So I almost thought like titles too, or like doctor or mister or miss it or miss, but like as far as like the official like
What would you call yourself?
yeah, okay. No, this is great because I gave myself a real pep talk. Is like if anyone asks you what you do, tell them you're a professional magician and wait for them to look weird about it and be like, yes. But the only reason why I don't want to say magician is because you might think stage magician. So
Yeah.
instead I now say cosmic counselor, and I counsel. Although I want to look into perhaps getting knighted and becoming a lord or a sir, so I could technically be like Sir Michael or Lord Michael.
I love it.
The lightning sage.
Sir, priest, lightning sage, archangel, you name it, just keep it rolling.
Oh my gosh. Or I could say I'm a wizard, like Diana said too. But definitely, I really want to kind of go for shock value. So like, especially if I'm in a room with like meteorologists, businessmen, like corporate executives. Oh, I'm a wizard. I'm a professional wizard too. Like I'll do magic spells. Like what?
You'd be like, okay, back to Hogwarts for you.
Right.
Like, really?
Yeah, if you need any magic work, I'm your guy.
Right? I do the same thing sometimes, telling people I'm like a professional exorcist, or
Yes.
and they're like, I don't know about you. I got my eye on you. Like
Right.
you don't know what to think.
That's well, by the way, exorcism is one of my hugest passions. That's the next step I want to get into, priesthood.
Yeah, you had mentioned that, right? That you wanted to be a priest and be an exorcist, right?
Yup. That's what I would be doing right now. And I'm sure I do it indirectly, but I really want to step in more into that. So what's my question for you is, as someone who's aware of these dynamics, what would you notice in someone to let you know that they might need an exorcism?
Well,
Or something.
yeah. Well, one thing I can tell you is, if, because like I don't, I know I have like that kind of visual Sagittarius energy, and I can see things kind of in my mind's eye, but like visibly, like kind of, I don't just see, oh, there's an entity that needs to be removed. So, I catch them in Akashic Records when I'm there, for sure. But something like signs that a person could kind of go off of is, one, negative patterns that don't stop with, usually has to do with mental patterns and emotional patterns, because angelic beings, like say demonic entities, or they go off emotional patterns. Heightened emotional responses is what they're looking for. That's the energy that they're feeding on. And so,
They always try and like rile you up, right? Or like try and get a rise out of you.
Yeah. So say, for example, if, life's going pretty good and there's an entity that's attached, say, at one of your chakras, because a lot of them, most entities will attach at a chakra center. And say that entity is feeding off of frustration, and there was a period of high frustration in your life, maybe with going through a divorce, or whatever it might have been, and now things are looking a little bit better, and suddenly, like, there's lots of little things that come up, like you drop something, or you spray yourself with water with the hose, and you're like, or you dump something on the counter and you're like, that wasn't me, like, oh my gosh, I'm suddenly so clumsy, something like that, where they're just frustrations. And that's the entity like trying to get your reaction in order to feed that energy,
that
to
makes
bring that
so
energy.
much sense.
And there's
Wow.
other, like, I've seen this also with a client before in like with domestic violence or something, where they maybe being physically violent, causing physical pain on a partner. An entity was attached where the entity was feeding off the pain, like a specific energetic statement of pain. And so it was creating a heightened state in that person that they would want to create more physical pain in order to feed the cycle. So the violence got worse and worse because the entity was like, I need this, this is my feel-good juice, right? But because essentially when entities are attaching to us, they're not attached to divine source. And so they're negative. They're feeding off of our
it's the
chakra centers.
absence of light.
Yes.
Okay.
So and entities like earthbound spirits, ghost, poltergeists are all entities that have been here for too long that need to be reconnected with divine source. So I can help those move on. But
hence exorcism. Okay.
Yeah. And to detach them, eventually they will have to have something to feed on if they're not connected to divine source. And so that's when they either seek out a environment that they can feed on with heightened emotions, maybe a lot of people, like tourist locations, stuff like that. Or if there's an individual, then they can attach it a chakra if they're resonating to an energy. But an entity cannot attach to you unless they resonate to an energy that you already are possessing. Even if it's a little bit, they'll look for that in. Or in the case of demons, they might stalk. They tend to sometimes stalk in groups. But
yeah, that's true.
So, but other entities, so paying attention also to your chakras, pay attention to the negative cycles, negative patterns of thoughts and emotions if you think something might be attached to you. But also pay attention if you're very conscious of how your chakras feel. Like if you feel, a pull at your third eye or your heart chakra, or something like funny at your solar plexus chakra, because those entities will go in, specifically demonic, angels and demons both will go in through the chakra, and they'll mine for information. They'll know you better than you know yourself, like that. And they will also alter things. So I've seen them block chakras, like just block the energy, or they influence it with whatever they want. So if you're feeling like, say, maybe third eye or crown, like maybe you're feeling something, kind of a weird energy around your third eye, and you feel like you're not connecting very well to like your meditations, or you're just not feeling very focused about your purpose in life or something like that. Well, there could be a demonic entity that's come in, blocked the energy flow at that chakra, and then because third eye is about life purpose and how we see that future for ourselves. Now you don't have that sight and that connectivity with your future purpose, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they will go in different ways. So if you notice at the chakra level that like you're feeling something kind of off, it's possible that you a demonic entity may be interfering. And I don't want to don't freak out if that's the case.
True.
They're very common, actually, very, very common. Most people have several already, just kind of like even little things, just throwing little, sticks and stones at us, throughout the day or throughout the week or whatever. But, and it can be gotten rid of. It's not that
What
big.
about for taking action or initiative? Is that like a root chakra or a solar plexus chakra thing?
Solar plexus a lot of solar plexus, that's asserting your willpower, right? So asserting your action into, basically creating what you want to manifest. So if you're hesitant, holding back, you feel like every time you want to do something, you can't for whatever reason, you feel like inhibited from doing something, that would be solar plexus.
That makes sense. And that's one thing that blew my mind, like realizing how common it was. And because the movies will make it look like it's a one-time occurrence, but it's almost like having roaches in your crib. Like you just have to clean out your space spiritually.
The severity, though, because there's levels, there's stalking, entity stalking, there's entity attachment, and then at some point they might, and it usually takes quite a long time. You have to have been living with the entity for quite a long time. But if they gain enough strength from you, say through a very negative time in your life or something, they can try to possess you. Then there's attempted possession, partial possession, and full possession. And usually in the cases of full possession, a person will not feel a lot like themselves, or they may feel like their life becomes a little chaotic because they are not always in control of what they're doing. And so they
that makes so much sense.
Because they're not always the one making their own choices. So their life may seem more fractured, where it's like, well, why did I do that over there? That seems like it doesn't fit really with what I'm doing over here, And it's because there's another entity part of the time switching in and out of their body, usually in the sleep state. Okay. And like every 2 or 3 months, comes in and...
From direct experience, by the way, I can attest to a lot of especially the whole, like, sometimes I'll catch myself like, why did I even do that right now? And I didn't realize that's my soul trying to say, hey, it's not you. But like, or it's not all you. I'll say that. It might happen through me. But we are on the... Oh, my bad. I was going to say we're on the second round of questions now.
Okay.
And
Oh, yeah, it's my turn. Okay, another one I wrote down that I really wanted to ask was, this year, what else did you want to do to try to expand your spiritual or magical practice?
Great question. So this year, what I want to do is... It's a really good question. I guess really get more brushed into... I'm trying to find the words to say it, but I want to get myself to a place where, especially the business I'm running is automated, to where I can focus more fully on doing magic work. And I know I'm working with the Orisha and entities, so I want to be in a position where if anyone has any problem, you can get a consultation with me, and it's like, I'll know what herbs you need, I'll know what material you need, I'll know whatever it is you need, so I can help intercede and like help you with whatever. If you don't even have the money to pay for it, we can work something out. So that's really what I'm trying to like step fully into priesthood like that.
That's interesting. I would be interested in learning more about that. That sounds really cool. I like that.
There's steps.
And what did you call it?
Okay, so great question. Now I can see why not anyone can do this, and you have to be ordained and you have to be called, because there's steps. Like it doesn't... I thought that you could just like come into all this, but like I think I know for working with the Orisha, high priests are called babalawos.
Okay.
But I see just is all just like wizardry, priesthood. It's kind of incorporating some hoodoo, some astrology, some numerology.
Interesting.
Yeah. But I just really wanted to I feel like I'm finally at a place now where I'm finishing up knowledge, and like I can all put it together. So this year is really just going to be me more clear. Now I'm taking a astro psych course, and I want to figure out how better I can add life coaching into it.
Interesting. Yeah, that sounds amazing.
What I really want to do is exorcisms and magic work, like pretty much like, okay.
But you got to clear up some time for it, because it takes time.
It's a devotion. It's definitely devotional for sure.
Yeah, it is. but it's a lot of fun. It's so much fun.
Yeah, especially being able to help so many people and
Mm-hmm.
bridge in a force that's not fully recognized yet, and which is
Mm-hmm.
just so amazing. So my
Yeah.
question for you is, what are three your favorite zodiac signs and three signs that give you the biggest challenge?
My favorite so far, well, I say so far in life because I feel like I either didn't pay a lot of attention when I was younger, obviously to what sign are you,
Right.
and the dynamics there. But so far in my adult life, the people I've been surrounded with that I get along with the most are, I think, Virgo and Capricorn. And I have many, many Capricorns in my life. And I don't know about a third. I think it's because like that comprises, I think Cancer also is one, but I feel like Cancer and Gemini, I either really get along with them or I really don't.
Yeah.
And so,
Gemini makes sense for sure.
yeah.
The mutable nature. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting.
So I don't know. And as far as the ones that they kind of give me the most challenge, I think are, well, sometimes Cancer, it just depends. Sometimes Gemini, it just depends.
When it's good, it's good. When it's bad, it's like, oh
Yeah,
God.
exactly. Like
Yeah.
there's no in between. Like,
Oh,
man, it's
wait.
on or off. Oh, and it doesn't help that with I have my Saturn and Venus in Scorpio, so it's like when relationships are on for me, they're on, and when they're off, they're just like dead. There's nothing, no life force. So, um, I don't know about a third one though, honestly.
It's cool. Technically, Gemini and Cancer can count. Gemini. Oh, okay. You said those two already. So,
Yeah.
that's cool. That's actually good.
Leo's one that I get along pretty well with too. I get along with Leos a lot.
That's what's up. I feel like Leo and Sagittarius is a very special affinity. I want to
Mm-hmm.
talk more about. So we are on one last round. Nice.
And I guess it's my turn. Okay, the
Yep.
other question I prepared was how in your journey throughout your life from the time that you started experimenting with astrology or magic and intention setting or moon rituals or any of that, how has magic helped influence your life, or how has it helped you to grow the most and influenced your life the most?
Magic. Oh, magic has just been, because I mean, as a child, like my hugest passion and desire, even when I was a Christian, like my hugest desire was I just want to devote my whole life to you, Lord. I want to
Mm-hmm.
devote, even being into magic, like I just wanted to immerse myself in this. So now being in a position where it's actually happening, and like certain things I thought were like a dream are now my reality. I'm just so grateful. Like, magic has really taught me. It's been such an empowering
Yeah,
journey, really, and it's been humbling as hell too.
absolutely. Mm-hmm.
It's really keyed me into the potential of other people. So magic is helping me honor the inner god and goddess within others, and or just the inner ultimate or sovereign being, or true person within others too. There's so much to answer that question, honestly, but I would say that's definitely been my guide in remembering the ultimate nature of things. Well, I still learn, because I still have so much to learn, but
Yeah.
yeah.
But that's the cool thing about magic, right? Is that, or, choosing any kind of practice like that on your spiritual path, because it helps you figure out who you are, and it gets you in
Yeah,
tune with yourself so much.
yeah,
So,
it really does. I'm so in love, actually. There's one thing, just the whole essence of magic, and like
mm-hmm.
how things just weave together. So my final question for you is, What has been the most rewarding experience for you so far on this journey?
Like in my life or with my business?
Oh, with your journey, concerning this journey. So yeah, your business.
With my telepathic journey, yes. I love, a lot of times when clients come to me or they email with questions and stuff, they like, one of the first concerns is, what are you going to see about me? Like, what are you going to uncover? Are you going to rub salt in my wounds and make it worse? I'm already hurting. I want to make sure that the person I'm going to is going to be a safe place, right? And I love, because the Akashic Records, when you're doing a session with somebody, it shows you who they are unblemished. It shows you their truest self. And so, the rest is just diminished. And when you can teach somebody to see their true self,
Okay.
when most people in this world are used to being bogged down energetically, not being able to express their authentic self freely, whether it be because of energetic blocks and restrictions, or if it's because maybe the people that are around, they feel like they have to hide that side of themselves. But, being able to get people in touch with, what, no, you are not the baggage that you carry. We all, that is our journey. We've all taken on a lot of karma, a lot of this, a lot of, there's, and things that are traumatic, we have human experiences that are traumatic sometimes. And those things are also trauma for the soul. So there's so much that we are taking with us, in our experience. And yes, it gets heavy. But being able to help somebody see who they are very clearly as the most beautiful soul being of creation, that helps them get out of that negative state too. But I think it's also a relief and very healing, just for to hold space for someone like that. And I think that's my most rewarding thing, is when I can get people in touch with that part of themselves that they didn't know was there. And that's really, in scripture, like, I kind of liken healing through Akashic Records to like the purification and cleansing, where, Christ is like, you have to wash yourself clean, and, to return back to the kingdom of heaven. And that's the process. Like, as we go through different spiritual healings, the original soul blueprint is always there for us to go back to. That never changes. And so we can always look at that as our guidance and say, okay, well, this is off. I need to go over here. And when I can show people, this is what your blueprint is, and this is where it's off track a little bit, we need to make some adjustments here. Obviously, this is creating a pain in your life. And then we create that pathway back to the original soul blueprint. I mean, that's incredibly freeing for the soul. And that person will always experience that into the third dimensional reality, because that's the only choice. When you're freely expressing your divine self, then you see that in your physical reality, because nothing else can be manifest but what's true at the soul level. So
beautiful. I love how you said that, and that's one thing I really am grateful for with you. Like, a lot of what you're saying is like changing the whole perception of how I'm able to see things. Like, once again, like seeing someone's true self and allowing what's false to kind of shed, and holding space for them, and seeing them for who they truly are, which is amazing. So I guess I'm sorry, what were you gonna say?
Oh, I was going to say, because a lot of people identify with the falsities, with the burden that they're carrying. I, just as a quick example, I knew somebody that had an older gentleman, had a heart attack, got out of the hospital, and the next day I was like, how are you feeling? He's like, oh, I'm feeling really great, like better than I felt in my whole life. And I'm sitting here thinking, well, you just had a heart attack, you know, like I don't, how can you be like recuperated and your physical health and, you know,
Oh,
everything like back to 1,000,000%, you know? But I think to me, I wondered if that doesn't mean a lot of people are so used to living in pain and carrying those weights that we have forgotten what it's like not to be carrying those things. So we identify so strongly with them that, you know, we don't even remember what's true for us sometimes, you know.
true that. Yeah. And it's always great to have people who can not only remind us, but encourage us and push us forward as well. So thank you so much, Jacquelyn, for joining this hour. It literally flew by, and very grateful. Once again, y'all, make sure you check out the Book of Shadows. I'm going to find ways we can incorporate it too in our future rituals. And
That would be awesome.
no, definitely. And other than that, do you have any final word for of encouragement for people walking this path
um
and advice?
Whether it's through Akashic Records or not, the soul can manage its experience and heal in many ways. So I think as long as people are seeking with that intention, the universe will always provide a way. And so I know right now, like I feel like there's kind of two categories of people where with the pandemic, there's those who are in kind of a catastrophic state of like chaos and feeling the stress, and others who are like in a really uplifted kind of ascended state, like going through a lot of awakening stuff. And, you know, maybe there's some that's kind of going through both at the same time. But I hope that, you know, certainly if anyone wants guidance, reach out to me. I can give my email to you as well, even if it's just for a positive energy transfer, like, because that's pretty powerful too. But yeah, there's always a way. Don't ever give up, and don't think that, you know, you're stuck in a negative state, because that's not your natural state, and you are a divine creator yourself. So just acknowledge that within yourself and know if you take ownership of what you're experiencing now, you can change it because you're the creator of it. You can always change it, even if you need to ask how sometimes.
Yeah. Which is huge because it could be very hard for some people to. Sometimes they feel like there's no one they can talk to or ask. So definitely very grateful. I do have your links below in the description box, so make sure you guys hit up her website. And
did you put my email too, in case? Well, and I know my email is on the website, but I think even for questions, you know, one thing I was planning on doing is on my website. Here in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to add a blog page for the book. So if and also one for spiritual safety. So if people have questions about spiritual practice or magic practice or something like that, and they want advice knowing whether or not what they're doing is safe for their experience, I can answer some kind of general questions about that, just, you know, for guidance. So
I just put your email down below too.
great.
Yeah. I feel like this is a dream because like your sun and moon is a very amazing synchronicity with me right now for another situation. It's just the way everything's coming together, which is amazing. So I honestly see that as an aspect of magic you bring to people. So
Absolutely.
thank you. And
Well, thank you.
no problem. We are going to end this live. Thank you guys for watching. Once again, make sure y'all hit her up. And until next time, peace out.